Aloha and gratitude for joining us here today for the fourth and final session of the Conscious Cures Book Club coaching series. Today's subject is planetary healing, and the guest speakers today are Rita Fleming and Natalie Foster-Bauer. These two women are specialists in regenerative health and planetary healing. You're in for a real treat. Thanks again for joining us, and please leave your likes, your comments, join the conversation. Big, big love and aloha. Aloha, everybody. I just want to welcome everybody to the fourth and final session of the Conscious Cures Book Club coaching series on planetary healing. And I'm so excited. In the house, we have Natalie Foster-Bauer and Rita Fleming, and they are going to be our honorary guests today, and they have so much to offer us in the realm of regenerative health, regenerative soil, regenerative planetary healing. And as people are coming in, because I don't want you guys, anybody who's coming in late, to miss a word they have to say, I'm just going to do a very short reading. Harvest is going to be singing the theme song for the book, Conscious Cures Solutions to 21st Century Pandemics. And then we'll get right into this incredible interview that we have planned for you today. Again, I want to welcome you all, and most importantly, scroll through and wave and say hi to everybody. And know that it is so, this is an open forum, and especially after we do this interview, or even during the interview, if you have a question or a health concern, or whether it be a physical or mental health concern in regards to planetary healing and your personal healing journey, you couldn't have better experts on right now than these two incredible women. So, and I also want to acknowledge another incredible woman, Margaret Mead, and open up with her quote, okay? Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And we may be small, we may be a small group, but we are a growing group. And not only is this group of conscious people gathering, but there are collectives of other incredible people connecting with each other in other areas, and I'm going to get into that at the end. So again, we invite you to share your wisdom and ask questions, and the topic is planetary healing. So I'm going to read one paragraph that's going to get us in the mood, because more people are coming in now, and then Harvest will sing, and then we'll begin this interview. So first of all, we want to acknowledge the fact that changing our consumption habits is a good thing. And we want to acknowledge that we all play a role in planetary healing, no matter where we are in our journey. Many people, and this is in your book on page 37, many people are wondering when life will get back to normal after COVID-19. We should be asking, can we use this opportunity to shift, to learn from our mistakes and build something better? The answer is yes. There are silver linings for the environment in the COVID-19 era. All around the world, we are seeing the environmental benefits of changing our ways. The closer we get to Mother Nature, the more inclined we are to protect her. When we take care of the environment, we will see human health dramatically improve. So we are interconnecting all of these things. And if you just would take a moment right now, you can even close your eyes. And I want to just share this metaphor to show what a valuable instrument of change each and every one of you are. And imagine if you were a stream, and imagine how that stream interconnects with the babbling brook. Imagine then the babbling brook connecting with a river, and as she flows into yet a bigger river, and the river takes itself down to the estuary, mixing with the salt and fresh water. Imagine as that mouth of the river widens into the ocean. Sometimes we can get lost at sea. But knowing that we are all interconnected and everything from the soil to the soul, we can bring each other in and out and back where we belong. And no matter where you are on your health journey, or in regards to your role in contributing to planetary healing, you are part of the system, an integral part. I just hope that sticks with you whenever you feel disconnected, whenever you feel like you're disconnected from your healing process, when you're disconnected from the Mother Earth, when you're disconnected from your family, understanding that there is this greater consciousness, there is this greater good, there is this flow, and there will be ebbs and there will be tides. But we always will come back to where we are, and we only can move forward from there when we're willing to be the change we wish to be. So thank you for allowing me to connect us all. Sometimes I feel like a dried up stream, and other times I'm lost at sea. But most of the time, I am finding that babbling brook place. I mean, we don't have to conquer the world. Every day we take these little conscious steps with conscious cures. And so Dr. Harvest Eckhart is going to sing the theme song. And now that we see most people have come in, and then we're still coming, people are coming in, but Harvest, everybody who's coming in right now, please enjoy this short conscious cure song that this man wrote after he read the book. So. And get up and dance, because it feels good to move your body.
Conscious cures and preserve humanity. Unity in community builds immunity. Take grateful for your blessings you've been given. Together we will focus on the vision. Expressing gratitude each day makes a difference in so many ways. It makes your spirit glow, shine so bright like the rainbow, giving us hope in our lives. Let your worries give justice to life kind. Naturize yourself and others, you'll gain peace of mind. Let's create a harmonious space, going forth in grace. Lead by example, give by your heart. What you think and say really matters. Be honest with yourself and others. Have your purpose in life, be reborn. Earth is a home to a web of life. Decarbonize the world conscious cures is a remedy to guide us to live compassionately, to share our lives peacefully.
Yeah, everybody, let's give it up for Harvey. Come off mute and give that man a holler. Woo!
Thank you.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. That gets me in such a great mood to introduce you to this week's guest when we have these takeaways of what does planetary healing look like to you, how Mother Earth's health affects our health, why it's never too late to change our consumption habits, and tangible healing opportunities, things that each of us can do to regenerate ourselves and Mother Earth, because one bite at a time, right, Natalie? One bite at a time, we make a difference. So without further ado, I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to introduce Rita Fleming, Rita Jean, as I call her. Rita Jean is a regenerative detoxification specialist. She got into regenerative detoxification to heal her own body. This is an incredible story you're about to hear. She was told she would never run or get back to normal activities after a near-death car accident when she was 19. After 10 years of looking for solutions, she found regenerative detoxification. She was able to 100% get out of chronic pain, regenerate her brain, spine, nervous system, and transcend PTSD symptoms. Like I said, if you guys have questions, today is a day to ask. This passion led her into the subject of soil health, and we are only as healthy as our soils are, she says. Over the last 2 years, she has created a community that focuses on regenerative solutions for our health, the planet, and business regenerative solution models that give back to our communities and our ecosystems instead of extracting from them. Thank you, Rita. Rita, say hi. I want you to also to meet this incredible woman, Natalie Forstbauer. I think I said it right. You'll have to correct me again. Forstbauer. She's an incredible human with a hard name to pronounce, but that's okay. She is a global regenerative health advocate and founder and editor-in-chief of Heart and Soul magazine, which I'm honored to have an article in her latest issue entitled One Bite at a Time. She's a TEDx speaker, author, organic biodynamic farmer, and a transmetic brain injury survivor. She is passionate about human potential and seeing people live their best life. She was raised on an organic farm, trained in polarity therapy, alternative medicine, neurofeedback, and transformational leadership. This woman brings a wealth of knowledge and life experience. And again, we invite you to ask questions, but first I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions, and if you answer these questions in the conversation, I won't backtrack, I promise. First of all, and you can decide who wants to jump in first, but I'd like to invite each of you to share your story on how and when you had your awakening, that your personal healing journey, journey, and how it became in alignment with your planetary healing journey. So, Rita, I see you shaking your head and up on the screen. So would you share, please, with everybody so they feel comfortable asking you questions?
Mm-hmm. That's such a great question, Donna. And I actually grew up in a really small mountain town up in Crested Butte, Colorado, and everyone's like family. And the community raises you, and nature and the mountains raise you. And I remember I was probably 7 years old, and I was playing in this tree, and I was building like a little tree hut. And this woman, Marcy Tellender, came up to me and she goes, "Hey, Rita, did you know that you're the protector of the trees?" And I was like, "Oh, really? That's wonderful. Yes." So I think having really influential leaders in the community, and being connected and close to nature, like, it taught me everything. So I developed a strong relationship from the beginning, and like so much respect. And it became like my number one source for learning. And then after my car accident, when I was 19, I broke 16 bones. I broke my spine off. I was told I wouldn't get back to normal activities. And I went back to the principles of nature. And I knew that there were solutions. And so I was going to look and find them. It took me a while. I studied everything you can imagine until I found solutions. But when I did get into regenerative health, it really got back to the principles of nature, from alkalinity to cellular health to gut microbiome health to soil health. And then I've been studying with Dr. Zach Bush. Some of you might know him, but he really brings home that point as well, just as Donna does in her book, how the soil, the microbiome of the soil is so important in our connection to it. Like, our gut microbiome is so thin, it's like one hair thick. And there's a reason for that. It's because we're supposed to be connected to our environment. And that soil health actually repopulates and educates our own gut microbiome health. And if we don't have that gut microbiome diversity, we lose that cellular communication. And then our mitochondria of our cells can't become energized and absorb nutrients. And so it's amazing how much our own cellular health and the health of that, and our cells' ability to communicate to each other, is literally based on the biodiversity of our environment. So that was also awakening for me. So I'll pass it off. Thank you, Donna.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for bringing in that whole bit about biodiversity, and it's what we are lacking so much in everything, in the inequality that's happening in the world. And like in the book I write about, we destroy the host of the bacteria, of the virus that the hosts live. They can store that virus, and we get rid of that diversity. And what we really need, like you just said, Rita, is getting our hands in the soil and feeling that microbial energy absorbed through our bodies. So, and nobody knows that also better than you, me, and most people on this call. But Natalie, please share Heart and Soul Soil with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Donna. And thanks for bringing us together and holding these sacred sessions over the past 4 weeks for us to learn and grow and share together. It's really, really powerful. I haven't been able to be on the live calls, but I've been able to watch the replays, and I deeply appreciate all the wisdom and awakenings that have been happening throughout the program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, ironically or not, Rita and I share a very similar story in some ways. When I was 19, I actually ended up being in a car accident. I had a concussion. At that time, they didn't know that it was a brain injury, of course. And injured my back. I ended up being diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. I had been on a basketball scholarship at the time. And, you know, I wasn't able to remember one sentence after the other as I was reading. It was really a terrifying time. And I went to my doctor and I said, what's going on? Because I'm not getting better. And I was doing all the things I was doing. I had very holistic doctors, medical doctors who did acupuncture at the time. And this is back in like 1990. So it was quite unique at that time for medical doctors to be practicing that type of discipline. And they also are trained in herbs and vitamins. And so anyways, he told me that I was had the chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And I said, okay, what is that? And he said, well, he explained to me that it was a breakdown of my immune system. I went to a support group of people with chronic fatigue syndrome, and I had never met such defeated people in my entire life. I met people who couldn't walk from their bed to their ensuite washroom, which was, maybe 5 steps from their bed because they're so in so much pain. I met people who can hold their babies on their lap because it hurt too much, the weight of the baby. And I went back to my doctor and I said, I'm 19 years old and I'm already can't lift my arm above my shoulder. And I can't imagine where I'm going to be when I'm 40 or when I'm 50 or when I'm 60, let alone 5 years from now, if this is where I am today. And he said, well, Natalie, you have an injury, and what's happened is instead of your body healing from that injury, it's taking a long time to heal from that injury. So what happens over time is that becomes a learned condition. And I was like, a learned condition. And I thought in that moment, well, if my body can learn pain, then it can unlearn pain. And that was kind of like a light switch going off in my head. And then I asked him how to build, and then he explained to me about my immune system and my autoimmune system just being really weak. I was sick all the time and, really tired. I wake up and I'd have pull muscles without exercising. It just made no sense. And so we talked about the journey of building the immune system. And he said, this isn't going to happen overnight. This is going to take a minimum of 3 to 6 months before you even start seeing results. So I went home and I started to do what he had suggested I did. And then I met a woman who at a dinner party who did Polarity Therapy, and I went to see her and my life completely changed. I got the full use of my arm back and I regained my health and my energy. And I went on to study Polarity Therapy, which really taught me about our energy system being our blueprint to our health, which is really interesting now that we're awakening to the microbiome, because that's like kind of like almost the next level to the energy system is the way I see it. And so that was my first awakening into health. And as I went into that practice in my mid-20s, my dad said to me, Natalie, if you really wanted to teach people about being healthy, you teach them about soil. And he had just done Elaine Ingham's training, which is all about the soil food web. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I get it. But people think like they won't get it. They won't know what I'm talking about. This isn't like in the 1990s again. And then to just back it up a little bit, I knew there was truth in what he was saying, because when I was 18 years old, my parents bought a farm. They moved their organic farm from Matsqui, BC to Chilliwack, BC. And they bought a farm that had been farmed with chemicals. And this land was like, you'd pick up handfuls of land and it was like, I imagined it might be like if you're on the surface of the moon picking up handfuls of dust. There was just no life in it. And we scoured a whole 110 acres for earthworms, for example, to go fishing in the stream that was along the road and the property line. And we could not find one worm on 110 acres. We dug along the ditches, we dug along the barns, the house. We turned over every piece of wood that you might find a worm, and there was not one worm. And I came from a farm where you'd pick up handfuls of earth and there'd be worms falling out of your hands. So it was really weird. I was like, there's actually nothing in the soil, not even an earthworm. And I didn't know what I was really witnessing or seeing at the time until the land started to come back to life. And as my parents farmed it organically and regeneratively and biodynamically, and to the point where you pick up handfuls of earth and there's like bugs and all the things and earthworms, and it's full of life. And that was probably one of the most transformational experiences, because up until then, I'd only been kind of told that organic farming was a great way to go, and told that chemicals hurt the land, and to actually see soil come back to life was an expression to me that the earth can heal itself, and all we have to do is show up and nourish and follow its lead. And then fast forward, and I'll wrap it up really quickly here, Donna, and fast forward to 2003, when I was publishing my first book, Health in a Hurry, Simple Solutions for the Time-Starved. I instead of launching it at my book launch, I launched it over the side of a mountain and ended up with a major brain injury where I didn't know my name or who I was when I woke up. And that was, I guess, about 18 years ago. And that taught me a whole new level of healing. And it taught me that healing is not fixing a broken bone or disease or an illness, but it's really about embracing who we are, where we are in this very moment. And Donna talks about, and I'm paraphrasing this in your solutions, Donna, but you really talk about leaning into nature and getting to know yourself. And part of that to me is really embracing yourself and others with compassion and grace. And so it's not about making somebody wrong for where they're at or what they're doing, but it's really meeting someone where they're at and amplifying all who they are and what they are doing, and then just lighting the path for them to deepen into their own inner wisdom to heal themselves and connect more deeply with nature. And that's how Heart and Soil magazine was kind of birthed, is through that journey. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your stories. I only heard bits and pieces of it. And I just want to hug you both so much and thank you for not only your stories, but sharing them in such a way that it really can help empower all of us to heal. Like, these are conscious cures that you're giving all of us, and they're pretty much tried and true, that they're going to work for most of us. So I just want to also mention right now, Tel's here, and Tel, if you could show everybody, Tel's in the Philippines, and she helps me with everything, my tech stuff, all the beautiful emails and everything wouldn't happen without Tel. And Tel lives where she lives. They can't, the COVID is so bad, you can't even really go outside. And if you do, it's mostly concrete. And what she has that is so beautiful is she lives with a family of 17 people in this large area. And her grandmother has an inside garden, right? And I think it was your cousin or your niece, somebody who painted this beautiful mural, right? But yeah. So beautiful. And they know, right? No matter where we are in the world, we know that microbiome, we know that soil power. There's probably 100 plants in that room you're in right now with flowers. And Tel, I don't know if you wouldn't mind taking a minute just to share your healing journey that you're on. Am I putting you on the spot? But
yeah, I'm not ready.
Okay.
But yeah, I was diagnosed of cervical cancer just January this year, and I had radical total hysterectomy last February. I was referred to do chemo and radiation, but I declined, because I believe that our body can heal itself. So I changed my doctor to an integrative doctor, and I've been doing well. I've met Mama Donna, and it's just like, it's just like destiny that our it's like our belief align. It aligns. So I'm really happy to meet all of you guys as well, and learning this healing journey.
Yes. So thank you so much, Tel. Yeah, and thank you.
Yeah.
We're whether we're a stream or a babbling brook lost out to sea, right? We're here part of this same system. Like Rita was saying, that the principles of nature, we are nature, and the closer we get to nature, the closer we get to our true nature. And I love your grandma for planting a garden in your house, because I know that part of those principles of nature that both Natalie and Rita were talking about. So I just want to also ask you guys, because part of the whole conscious cures thing was interconnecting health, family, business, career, right? And how all that contributes to planetary healing. Again, it's one big symphony of change, not just an instrument, but we're all part of that play playlist or whatever you want to say. But both of you, and like myself too, and I think Kat Haber's on here too, you know, who's had, we've all had our things, but we are driven in a very positive direction with our careers for planetary healing. And I wanted to invite each of you to talk about how your personal health journey and your career and how you've chosen to move forward, how you got into what you're doing. And because it's so important, we spend all this time trying to earn a living, right? And how you have been able to do it and support your healing journey. So Rita, do you want to share a little bit about your career and how it's helped support your healing journey?
Absolutely. I love that, Donna. And thank you, Tel and Natalie, for sharing your stories. They're beautiful and inspiring. And for me, it's funny. I always grew up with this concept of unlimited potential. And I think it's because I grew up with a mama who's very passionate about gardening, for one, but also she grew up as an Iyengar yoga practitioner. And so this kind of seed in me was always like more doing that inward practice and seeing the external results and seeing how much of a creator of our lives we are just through our thoughts and our actions, you know, and how that the larger impact that makes on our community and the world. And so I was always really passionate about health. You know, I practiced yoga since I was a really little girl. I don't have a memory without it. And that led me into kind of like Ayurvedic health and studying that. And then that led me into, you know, just after my accident, that's when I really deep dove into everything health, from medical anthropology to you name it. And it brought me traveling across the world and studying permaculture and studying agroforestry and healing my body through fruits and herbs and getting my body alkaline and healing all the different systems, from my nervous system to my kidneys to my endocrine system, you know, and working with plants to do that. And then also realizing like these foods are having a really important positive impact on me cellularly with my energy, but also emotionally and mentally. And so that, you know, after I was able to regenerate my body and get out of pain, I just couldn't not share that with the world, because there's so many people that are struggling and suffering on a daily basis, and so much of it is unnecessary. And so when I learned these simple solutions that we could teach any kindergartner, you know, like I wished I learned it in kindergarten, simple solutions that we can apply to our daily basis, I started hosting retreats around the world, and I had regenerative health retreats. And then that led into having my own regenerative health clinic. And then I realized from there, I was only able to help about 5 people a day in my clinic, you know, because there's only so many hours in a day. And that expanded into me actually partnering with a company that works with regenerating the Earth's soils. And so I realized that regenerative health was so powerful and so needed, and that there was a missing link, and that missing link was soil health and regenerating our soil's health. Because again, we're just living in a time where our food systems are broken and our soils are so depleted that we're just not getting what we need. And so once I started to work with regenerative nutrition, I felt the lights come on in my body. And I just came alive. And it took me, you know, I was already out of pain. I was already thriving in so many ways, but I found myself constantly looking for, like, hey, I'm not feeling totally nourished or satisfied. What is that? You know? And I was having wild crafted herbs on a daily basis, you know, and I was like, what could I possibly be missing? So understanding that soil piece was really huge and revolutionary. And then being able to bridge regenerative health with regenerative agriculture was like my 2 passions coming together. And they're both things that I could speak for hours and days on individually. And then bringing them together, it's like, you get to focus on healing the planet to also heal ourselves and our communities and our bodies. And so now, we've created a regenerative health community, and collectively we're helping thousands of people to reconnect that balance. So it's kind of incredible, but if you have a dream or a vision and you align with your core values and your passion and your heart, like, we're all here to do something amazing, every single one of us. And I feel like life, including all of its incredible challenges, is just preparing us for that something special. And as challenging as like trying to heal my body and living in severe chronic pain for over 10 years, trying every solution, as challenging as that was, it brought me to my gifts. It brought me to my biggest passion, my greatest service. So being able to help so many people now in that same way, and just, I really believe that it doesn't matter what you've been through or where you're at in your health journey or what your age is, there's solutions. And just like the earth regenerates, just like Natalie was sharing about the soil regenerating, like our bodies do the same thing. Our brain does the same thing. So if we can work with both of those principles, then we can live in a healthier world, a more beautiful world than we have now. And one of my passions with this work is you can actually pass off stronger genetics to your children. And currently right now we're passing off weaker genetics to our children, but it doesn't have to be that way. So knowing what's possible and then imagining what's possible at the community collective level of what does a regenerative world look like? What does a world look like where we're thriving, like beyond what we understand as health? Like, what does it really look and feel like to thrive? And then what does that look like in our environment and in our community and in our homes and in our landscapes, So I'm also a dreamer, and it's amazing, in the last couple of years, I had a vision, and I followed that vision through, and what we've been able to create in the last couple of years is amazing. So yeah, I'll pass it off to Natalie.
Bridget back, soil to soul. Let's hear it, Natalie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rita. Could you please paraphrase the question again for me?
The question is how your health journey has led you to your career journey, and how your career is supporting your health. So we want to inspire more of our listeners to think about what are they doing in their livelihoods, just that's supporting their health or possibly deteriorating their health, and how that's made a big difference for you.
Yeah, that's such a powerful question. And I think I touched on that a little bit, and Rita definitely spoke to that about how the human body is a mirror of the soil. So it's as the soil can regenerate, our bodies can regenerate. When we cut ourselves, the body's instinct and intrinsic nature is to stop the bleeding, to heal and to heal itself. And when we sit with that, it's really actually quite profound when we think about our health journey and going into, from our 20s to our 30s to our 40s and 50s and beyond. And how my journey has supported my career is healing from the brain injury was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, like the second one in 2003, because up until then I was really, I would work with people and they would have results in days, sometimes even in one session. And, their whole lives would be turned around. And then all of a sudden I had this massive knock on the head. And I wasn't getting the results. I mean, it didn't matter what I did. I was eating organically. I was eating all the right things. I was doing all the right things. And it just took longer. And what I learned from that is it's really, really important to meet yourself where you're at in your healing journey. And how that brought me to Heart and Soil magazine is as I took the time, Donna talks about this in her book about getting to know yourself better and to regenerate yourself. So you're looking after yourself from a spiritual perspective. You're looking after yourself from a physical perspective, from an emotional perspective. So every single day, rather than beating myself up for everything I could no longer do, I started to focus on what I could do and what I did have control over. And that was a massive shift. So that's sinking into the gratitude that Donna really talks about in her Conscious Cures at the end of the book. And it's really profound because we talk about, oh, be grateful, or have gratitude, or write down a gratitude journal. And that can be really overwhelming when your life is really tough, like really, really tough. And at the same time, when we can sink into those little things that we do have or that we can do, it's really, really powerful, because then it gives ourselves permission to open up to our next steps and to notice what is working, and to notice and connect more deeply with our inner wisdom to guide us into those next steps. So as I healed from the brain injury, I was also a single parent. And I really, the whole time I was healing from the brain injury, I was voraciously learning like all about the brain. And I really thought that I'd be launching a business in brain health, because I have so much to offer and so much to give. And as I deepened into that launch a couple of years ago in 2019, I was doing a vision quest of, and it was like a vision meditation and about what my next steps were. And I had this profound experience of a new earth that really was emulated when Rita was talking about thriving. And the earth, the colors were different in it. The way we were working was different. The way we were communicating was different. It was all in collaboration, and it was all in regeneration. It was all in renewal. And what wasn't needed was composted. What was amplified was harvested. And it wasn't just in what we ate. It was in the way we lived, the way we interacted. And I didn't see people or things, but I saw it I saw the essence of it. And it was so powerful. And I came out of that vision, and I just kind of stood there, and I was like, if we, noticing where the earth is today, if we continue to not have the conversations about regenerative health and the way we grow our food, then we're not going to have a place where we can talk about brain health. We're not going to have a place where we can deepen into our inner wisdom. So I knew with all of my experience and kind of what Rita was talking about, how life prepares you for your next steps, that creating a voice and creating a platform and creating a conversation around global health was really, really important. And to bring people together in this space, so that rather than tearing our colleagues apart, or tearing organics apart, or biodynamics apart, or no spray apart, like what can we do to create more transparency around what we're doing, and what can we do to bring the conversation together and really amplify the global health and planetary health and global regeneration conversation? Because when we can lean into kindness, and when we can lean into focusing on what we are doing really, really well, we can really nurture shifts internally, and we can nurture shifts externally really profoundly. So that's how Heart and Soil came about, is just to really amplify voices in the space, and to really help us hold hands and link arms.
That is so beautiful. Both of you just, wow. So much value right there, that it's just regenerates myself, like doing what we're doing to do this, and that's that interconnection of the stream out to the sea, where we know, like there were so many times I know during my personal healing journey and things that I went through where I would feel very alone. I started getting into this when I was 16. I'm 64, and not many people were talking about it. And I didn't even know the word, we didn't talk regenerative. It wasn't even till the 90s that they even started saying sustainability. And now sustainability has gone out of fashion because it's not enough to be sustainable. And when I look at you guys and some of the other people, you guys, I hope we get some questions in for you, for all of us, but is we spend so much of our time trying to make a difference, not just with our own personal healing, but with our work. It's just like, just that balance, you know, balancing our lifestyles with our work styles so that we can stay healthy and we can do the work that we're doing. Because I know for me, it's really easy. I'm a workaholic, I admit it. I used to be a foodaholic and some other aholics, but I put those, I composted those because they weren't serving me. But it seems like my work has become my play, you know, my career has become my lifestyle. Sometimes my husband wish it would be a little less, right, Kevin? But other than that, you know, it's just like finding this, that drive or that passion. It keeps me on my health journey. And so I didn't know, I'm not looking at the chat. Are there any questions right now before I go on to the next question? Does any, because I know last week we ran really long. So does anybody have any questions that they want to ask about?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. If you do, I know a couple of you personally have had some brain injuries, and and have health issues because I've spoken with you. So if you do want to ask, don't be shy. We never got anywhere in life without asking questions. So, and being honest and vulnerable. And like you both were talking about this full transparency, and I really appreciate you bringing that up because it's what I try and expose when I write. It's just like, there's so much stuff that has been buried in the dirt. Our dirty economy, our dirty political system, food and drug, all of this. It's like all these other systems are so broken there and they're so dirty. But we don't have to spend our time in these dirty systems because dirt is dead soil. And when I listen to Rita and when I listen to Natalie and talking about soil and regeneration, I mean, it's like going to a congregation, right? Hallelujah. And congregation is where people congregate to talk about common goals and like you guys both talked about this grace and this love and this and kindness, and having that kindness be brought into our everyday lives, how we treat our health, our souls, our soil. So my next question for both of you is to really go into some tangible ways, things that people can do every single day beyond recycling, which is a bunch of crap, which goes beyond taking a supplement bought at Costco, which goes beyond looking at what is in our trashes and realizing that, well, actually, that's a really good place to start. When we look in our trash, we usually can figure out what we can eliminate, because this overconsumption of negativity, this overconsumption of plastic, fossil fuel driven foods, of a fossil fuel driven economy of which has created so much greed. And most everybody is addicted to this, what we see as the transparency of an artificial world. So what I would like to ask you both to is contribute real transparent solutions, things that people can do beyond what the greenwashers are telling us we need to do, like recycle. What can we do to go beyond that is going to improve our personal health, our family lives, our careers, and contribute to planetary healing?
Yeah, I can hop in there. So thanks for this question. Such a good question. And as consumers, we're all consumers. We have so much power, more so than we know and more so than we realize, and we can vote with our dollar. So that's one aspect. And an interesting statistic is if we can create access to organic and regenerative foods to just 16% of the population, Monsanto would, Bayer would collapse because their economic model isn't sustainable. So much of it is education and awareness and realizing that the true power is in our own hands, individually and collectively. So doing things like this, having a Conscious Cures book club where we can talk ideas, bringing community together, watching videos like, Kiss the Ground. It really starts to show solutions and how much changing our food system can actually reverse climate change. And I'll share some more on that. Or watching, Farmers Footprint, but coming together in community spaces and gatherings, whether it's at your house or at your local library. That's a great way to start sharing solutions. Talking about such things as glyphosate, because we don't even really know necessarily. The majority of the people that I talk to on a daily basis don't necessarily know what glyphosate is or its impact on us. So having those conversations and sharing those true solutions. And so one of the things that we're working with is helping people to detox glyphosate out of their body, because it kills off the soil. It's an antibiotic. It kills off the soil microbiome. And when the soil microbiome is dead, the plants can't absorb proper nutrition. And then we can't absorb proper nutrition. And then when the soil dies, it runs off and it pollutes our water systems. And so if we can just start having more conversations and awareness around these topics, there's so much we can do. And if just 5% of farms adopted organic and regenerative properties and qualities, we could actually reverse climate change, which is astounding. That's amazing. So it doesn't take, a huge percentage to make the change. It takes all of us collectively, individually, one individual at a time, making a change together. And so ways that you can support that is going to your local's farmers market and supporting your local farmers and getting to know them, planting gardens, community gardens, hosting these educational things, because it all makes a huge difference. And we have a voice collectively. And if we vote with our dollars, and it's not that we need a ton of clothes or anything, but you can have a small wardrobe of organically sourced clothes. And that actually is going to make a really big impact. And as we start to have this demand and use our voices and share education, there's so much we can do. And, just with 5% of farms going to organic and regenerative, that will pull 42.2 gigatons of CO2 out of the atmosphere and restore it and put it back into the soil, where then it's used to restore ecosystems, and so we can do that. That's doable. And what we need to just sustain is getting 24 gigatons out of the atmosphere into the soil. So there's so much we can do. So I'll pass the mic, but those are a few of my tips, and then including things like, not using single plastics, just really, really investing your personal dollar into bringing your own shopping bags, hemp and all these different things where you're not using or consuming plastics, because that makes a really big difference.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we didn't have plastic water bottles. Our phones weren't even made out of plastic. They're made out of rubber. We didn't have plastic bags at the grocery stores. And we did just fine. So thank you so much for sharing all that. That was really great. Really appreciate it.
There's a question, Mama Donna, from one of our participants for if Rita and Natalie could address this. Is hydroponics and aeroponics, like also like the plants, is it nutritious as well using that way? Or
Natalie, you want to run with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty opinionated on this. um, so so hydroponics and aquaponics, when we grow our, there's different kinds of hydroponics too. You know, there's different feed that is put into the hydroponics and aquaponics. And at the end of the day, it's just not the same as soil. The microbial, the soil food web is not there in hydroponics and aquaponics. And I even know, he's got a great Facebook and Instagram account. It's Evo, or is Eve Growing, I think. And he actually used to do just hydroponics, and he now only grows in soil, and he's doing these soil towers with worms in them. And it's amazing. And he advocates that soil is just, it's better nutritionally. He can grow his plants, as well as it's cheaper. Hydroponics is really expensive, for example, as well. So I lean hard into soil.
And I would like to just add to that. I love that. I'm so in alignment with what you just said. You know, if you think about the Mother Earth and you look at the outer soil, it's like the skin of the earth. And if you imagine your body without skin on it, doesn't work, right? And yeah, we're made of 70% water or thereabouts, but that skin, that earth, and that's our largest organ in our body. The soil is that organism, organisms, billions of organisms, that is essential to hold the earth together, to hold us all together. And that was a really great answer and a really great question. Natalie, while you're there, do you want to share, and thank you for the question, whoever asked that question, and I hope you, do you have any more questions about that? Because that was a great question.
well, there is another question here. How do you deal organically with sleep apnea and escape from the Cpap machine but still stop snoring?
Whoa. I want to know, because I have a sleep apnea machine, and so let's hear. Do you want to take anybody? Do you guys? Because I need to hear that.
I can speak to this one. And Natalie, you can too, if you want to.
I'll let you go.
So really, when we're dealing with sleep apnea, it's a symptom that the lymphatic system is congested. And so we really want to work by cleaning up the lymphatic system. And our lymphatic system is our sewage system. And so all of our trillions of cells have to eat, and they also have to excrete. And all of those cells are eating and eliminating on a daily basis. And that elimination goes into our lymphatic system. And we're actually passed down lymphatic congestion from multiple generations. So we can actually be born with chronic lymphatic congestion. And that lymphatic system, there's a few elimination pathways for it. So people talk about exercise and massage and all these things are wonderful, but that's just moving the lymph. It's actually not eliminating the cellular waste out of the body. So we have to open up our elimination channels. And our primary elimination channel for lymphatic waste is our kidneys. And of the hundreds of people I've worked with, I haven't met anyone whose kidneys are properly filtering or fully eliminating. So that was big work for myself as well. That was a huge piece in my personal regeneration. And so we got to get those kidneys open. We got to work with the gut microbiome health, and then we got to get the skin sweating. And oftentimes, if we're not sweating, it's due to a thyroid weakness. And a thyroid weakness just has to do, again, with our gut microbiome health, because if we have leaky gut, in glyphosate, we were talking about it, that's something we're all exposed to on a daily basis because it's in our air, it's in our food, and it's in our water. And just within 20 minutes of exposure to that, we get leaky gut. And when we have leaky gut, all of our toxins spill into our lymphatic system, spill into our immune system. And then that spills into our blood. And then once it's in our blood, it can cross that blood-brain barrier and impact our nervous system. And so there's a few things we want to clean up the lymphatic system, because that's going to strengthen all of your glands, organs, and tissues. And so if there's a weakened parathyroid or weakened thyroid, we have to clean up that lymphatic system in order for that to regenerate. And then the other piece is, the nervous system and the adrenals. And so our adrenals and our kidneys work together. There's no way that our kidneys can properly filter or eliminate this lymphatic waste or acids or toxins or congestion if our adrenals are not properly functioning. And just due to the environmental stress, toxins, our food systems, our work, stressful environments, our relationships, our adrenals have taken a huge toll. So it's really important to support those on a daily basis. There's so many ways to support them. All of your fresh fruits and berries are amazing adrenal foods. And then there's incredible herbs that you can grow in your garden that are amazing for your adrenals. And when you heal those adrenals, you heal your nervous system. So that's where I would start with the sleep apnea, is getting your kidneys filtering. Tart cherries, watermelon, lemon water. It takes a minimum of a few months, but you'll want to work with kidney herbs and foods that help to get that elimination channel open. And then the sleep apnea will go away once you get that lymphatic system cleaned up.
I just got to chime in and give like 10 million kudos to you, Rita, because I've been working with Rita now for about 6 months. And she is my regenerative health coach, even though I am an IIN graduate, and that's from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I am a certified wellness coach, and I'm pretty healthy. And people are always wondering, well, where do I get all my energy, and why do I have all of a sudden even more energy? And Rita, if you would put the link in there to your regenerative health in the chat, and you can set up a consultation like I did with Rita, a free consultation, and talk with her. And you can also talk with me. I won't say I'm healed from sleep apnea, but I am on the road. The last 6 months, I lost 10 pounds, and I'm have more energy than I've had. Well, I don't know. I've always had a lot of energy, so we don't necessarily want Donna to have too much more. But my energy is more directed. It's more focused. It's more clear. I'm clearer than I have ever been. Clear enough to be able to put on something like this and attract these incredible people into my life. So I urge you all to reach out to Rita. She's going to put a link in the chat, and see how both of us can further help you on your health journey. So, and I really can't tell you, like I have been suffering with sleep apnea for about probably my whole life. And I loved what you said, Rita. My father had it. It's a generational thing. And I kept thinking, well, it's part of it is not just generational, but also physiologically, because I know my mother had deviated septums, and there is some of that. So like Natalie was saying, for some people, her brain injury took longer than others, right? But you don't give up. I'm not giving up. Then I'm going to get rid of my Cpap machine. Right now, she is my girl. I love her every night. I love her. And my husband has really grown to love her too, because I don't snore. But I feel myself as my kidneys get cleaner, and as I work on my thymus gland. If everybody would just take a minute to do this, this is where this is like, right here. This is like why Tarzan and all those apes, that's where we get our adrenal health from, right? T cells. Dr. Harvest is in the room. Yes, T cells going. So if nobody has another question, because those are great questions, so keep asking them, because we have a little bit more time. I'd much rather hear from you what your question are there any more, Tel, before we move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tad has a question.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Tad, if you could just, come on and explain or what your question really is.
Thank you, Tad. We want to see your beautiful face. Come off let's see your video smile.
Hi there.
Oh, God. So happy to see you. Oh my God. Hi, Dad.
Hi. Hello,
Brother.
everyone. Yeah, I've struggled with not having vibrant health for half of my life. And I've seen a gazillion people in the last 3 decades, worked with all different folks with different modalities. And, I've been eating organic food forever, at least half my life. And, I'm familiar with healthy soil microbiome and that. And I'm not a farmer. I don't grow my own food, but I get all my veggies from the local farmers market here and eat as well as I can. But I'm just wondering if either of the two guest speakers have any thoughts. Such a broad, it's I have a lot of muscle, ligament, tendon injuries that that have become chronic, and I don't know. Heal me. No. I don't know. Any thoughts, suggestions? I guess as it relates to
Click on Rita's link, first of all.
my structural system
Mhm.
issues there.
Yes. I mean, whenever you're dealing with ligaments and tendons and muscles and bone, that actually comes back to your parathyroid health. And again, like that's something I also had to work on. It was something that I inherited that was a weakness genetically. And when you
Okay.
have parathyroid weakness, you can totally regenerate it. It's not something you have to live with, but you see such things as injuries and tears and scoliosis and prolapsed organs and all of these different things. And the reason is because the parathyroid is what absorbs in charge of our calcium utilization and absorption. And so it comes back to the same thing. I mean, I had so many injuries, like injuries that the doctors told me they hadn't seen anybody survive from, and the key to my regeneration was, again, that cellular health, getting cellular energy. So increasing your fresh fruits and veggies, because those have they create the most cellular energy in ATP. And then getting your kidneys filtering, supporting your adrenal glands, because your adrenals support your tissue regeneration, and then working with that parathyroid gland. That's kind of more of like a deep dive consult, but those are the areas that I would work through herbs and through nutrition.
Okay.
Tad, definitely get a hold of her, and I can talk you through some of that too, because my bones and joints have never felt better since all my injuries, and it's not about my story now. So let's keep moving on, because this is such a good conversation, and thank you so much for.
Yeah, I just want to just add to that really quickly, and I think Rita answered it so beautifully, and I encourage you to pick up the phone and do a consult with her. That was also one of the curious parts when I was healing from the brain injury, right? Because I was eating all the right foods and stuff like that. And what I learned though is when we acquire a brain injury, and this might be a little bit different for you, Tad, but it's still relatable, because if your brain isn't in good health, and your gut isn't in good health, it doesn't matter what you put into it, the body can't utilize and absorb all those good things. So we can be doing all the right things and still feel like we're sliding down the slope. So you're asking the right questions, and I just really encourage you to pick up the phone and connect with Rita, and then also listen to your inner wisdom and ask yourself what the next steps might be.
Okay. Thank you, Natalie and Rita. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your great question, Tad, too. I'm sure a lot.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Donna.
No, I was just saying that so many people feel the same way, and I was just going to take it back a little bit to our personal health, to planetary healing. We're all trying to do the right thing, and we keep hearing the bad news and feeling like, gosh, I just want to give up on my health, or I'm going to go get a Coke in a plastic bottle and throw it out my car window, right? It's like nothing matters. I'm not feeling better. The world's going to, so we're out in the ocean and we're lost, right? And that's why we want to make sure we keep bringing each other in, and that it's so nice to know we have people like Natalie and Rita and everybody tell all of us that we're here to help hold each other up. That's like what we talked about last week. If you haven't listened to the segment on family, that was 2 weeks ago. And also I wanted to acknowledge some Deanna's on the phone, and she was one of our guests last week, who is a regenerative farmer on 2,600 acres of regenerative grain of acres that they took from, like what Natalie was saying, dead soil, and is turning it back into a fertile garden of 2,600 acres. And like also Rita, what you were saying that I loved is just like, you have all these statistics. It doesn't take much. I mean, we just have to keep moving forward in that right direction and keep reaching out, and acknowledging and honoring people like Deanna and her husband Kelly, who took it upon themselves after 4 generations to convert 2,600 acres into a regenerative farm. I mean, like, wow, Deanna, I don't know. I think you're still on here, but I just wanted you to show your face. And I think you're still here. She was on before, she was probably, but anyway, she'll hear the replay because she was on earlier. But we are so blessed to have people just in our Conscious Cures community here who really care enough to listen to all of our stories, because they're all real. And it is real that sometimes we want to throw our hands up in the air and give up. And then thankfully we have people like Harvest, this incredible musician, because there's all different ways. Like he just brings us up with his energy and his lyrics and his passion for regenerative health, regenerative agriculture, from the soil to the soul. We each do it in our own ways. And that's what's, we're all unique, where there's, like they say, like in a handful of soil, there's that many humans on the earth, and not one is the same, right? And they say we have 60 years of farmable soil left. So we're running out of time, we could say. There's, with climate crisis and all, whatever we want to call it. So acting now and just saying, you know, I'm done living with chronic pain. I'm done being apathetic about my place in my career or my lifestyle or what I'm doing. I'm over it, because you could be the happiest person in the world. Every day, I always say that at least maybe 3 times. I'm the happiest person I know. Affirmation, right? It's that mental clarity. And if somebody like Rita, who's had all these injuries, including a brain injury, and Natalie with 2 brain injuries, can take their lifestyles and their careers to this point, all of us have great role models to look up to.
Very inspiring.
Very inspiring. So I just want to say, keep telling me if there's questions, but it is coming towards the end, and I had a couple of more things and some really exciting announcements that I want to make sure we have time for, because we're going to keep going deeper into this conversation after this book club is over, which is today is the last day. But Natalie, you where we left out before those 2 really great questions was giving those tangible, beyond a tip like recycling or whatever, things that you can share, really concrete things, like our overconsumption habits or whatever, things that you've already also garnished from the book, things that you recommend, and offer your readers in your magazine, things that you're sharing with that great community, which I will encourage you all to check out her magazine, and Tel's going to put her link, or you already did, in there, because it's
thanks. And I'm actually just going to put a special link in here. And if you use this link that I put in here for you, it's actually a special link that I made for Donna. And I will, if you use this link, I'll also give you a complimentary copy of our first, our launch magazine. So, which is all about regenerative health. But let me, the first, I already have I have a couple of things to share with you. Is that okay, Donna, if I just put them into the chat? Another
Yeah.
really good documentary is the film Modified, and it's not on Netflix. It's but it's seriously, it is so freaking good. It is at the level of Kiss the Ground or The Biggest Little Farm. It's that kind of documentary. It's called Modified, and it's all about genetically modified foods and their impact and the how do you say that? And it's different than stat. It really tells a really nice story about it. So I put that in the chat. You can get 50% off using Heart and Soil. And then this link right here is to my magazine. If you use that link, I'll look to see, and then I'll add a special bonus in there for you if you use that link through Donna's link that I made for her. So going back to what else, I mean, oh man, Rita, you shared a waterfall of information. And I think the biggest thing I can add to that is actually, everyone's here because they're already saying yes. And the biggest thing I can add to that is to deepen into that yes even more, deepen into that. What is it to live regeneratively? What is it? Like, if I could define what health meant to me and what my life would look like and feel like, what I'd be doing, what I'd be seeing, what conversation I'd be having, if I could really step into that and really identify that, what would my next steps be? And what might that look like? What would that feel like? So really connecting deeply to that inner wisdom, because when we connect to that inner wisdom within ourselves, we know what our next step is. We know what our next conversation is. When we're in the grocery store and we're shopping and we're looking for what we're going to put in our grocery basket, we're going to catch ourselves and go, oh, maybe I can't buy everything organically today, but what I can do is I can buy my apples organically. So that's what I'm going to do. And when 1 million people do that, that's 1 million pounds of food. And Rita dropped some really profound numbers about 5% of farmers transitioning. And another number is if we only converted 0.4% of 1,000 acres. So it's like 4 acres out of every 1,000 acres to regenerative organic farming, we can actually cool the climate and change the course of where we're at today. So those are the two biggest things, is just bringing a deeper presence to where we're at and being gentle with yourself, right? Just being really gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. Thank you so much. That was powerful. Both of you guys are amazing. One other thing that, and until you could put this in, this is not the most uplifting movie, but it's called The Planet of the Humans. And when we're talking about what we can do is do less, eat, consume less, and we'll have more of a planet left for our future generations. It's not about alternatives, alternative energy. It's about doing the right thing. And when you watch this film, it kind of changes everything. I mean, it's kind of, I want to bring it back to my book, but it is kind of what I write about. All these systems are broken, and it's not about an alternative. It's about preservation and conservation. And when we talk about longevity, like Dr. Melissa Peterson, who was on the first week of the Conscious Cures series, she's a longevity epigenetic specialist. And I think, Rita, you mentioned this too, who wants to live on a planet where there's no skin? So who told us we needed all this stuff? Who told us we needed to be sick? Who told us we weren't good enough? Who told us the world is fucked up? Who told us to call soil dirt? Composting these old scripts and really thinking about how the systems and cycles of nature works, and the wisdom that we can garnish just by going out and sitting under a tree or up in a tree and seeing the interconnection of how everything works in harmony. You don't see a tree eating, tons of processed food or any living organism or in nature except humans. You don't see restaurants in a healthy ecosystem, or there's no houses. I mean, they look that it provides for itself. And I'm not saying that we can go that far. But whether it's 4% of 1,000 acres or making these changes in our lifestyles, in our communities and in our families, we become part of that planetary healing. And when I look at how nature preserves its young, when I see how ecosystems restore themselves after a fire or whatever it is, and it takes what it needs. Sorry about that. So I just want to encourage all of us to, when we're looking at our bodies, you know, we're talking about longevity. We're talking about preserving our bodies so we can live on this beautiful planet with a skin of microbial rich soil. What is it going to take for us to teach our children well and live as an example and touch lightly on the Pachamama? Because that is good for our soils, to our souls. That is heart and soil, right? That is the biggest takeaway for me with all my writing and my work and bringing people like this together, is to realize that we understand this. And how do we bridge the gap and get other people to understand this? And the films that you brought up, even Paul Hawken has a new book called Regeneration. And I'm going to put in a plug for this book, because this is where it all starts, is living like the future matters. And the last chapter in here is called Regeneration. I met Paul Hawken when he was writing his book Regeneration, and he knows about this book. So I think, and that all of us have the ability and the responsibility. Chester, I'm sorry, my dogs agree with me. To make these paradigm shifts, to make these systemic changes that are going to make a difference for our children, because the future belongs to those who give the next generation reasons to hope. And I just want to make sure before we go, because Carvis is going to be entertaining us with some songs, I want to make sure that if tell her any last questions, because then I want to just give you guys a few brief announcements and lots of love in this music at the end. So are there any more questions?
No. Yeah.
Natalie's.
Well, if I'm happy to answer more questions. I also, just because glyphosate has come up and Donna is in the last issue of Heart and Soul magazine, the last issue was actually all about soil impacts your health. I don't know if you can see it there. And
Yeah.
it's all about glyphosate, and not all about glyphosate, but it really helps us understand what glyphosate is, how it impacts our body, and then how to detox it, what Rita was talking about. And unfortunately, it is everywhere. It's even in the organic food, and it's not as high in the organic food, but because it's so pervasive, it's found its way into our rivers and our lakes and our rainwater. So it's really important to learn about how we can do the detoxing, like including ginger in our diets and eating fermented foods and drinking reverse osmosis water. And there's a lot of other things you can do, but those are just some places to start.
That is so awesome. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that leads me to one of the announcements that I wanted to share with you all, and where this conversation can continue. If you guys aren't on our email list, make sure you put it in there so Tel has it. If you're not in our Facebook group, please go there, because that's where you'll find the replays. You'll also find the replays for all of these episodes on my YouTube channel, which is just getting started. And I just so appreciate any comments or likes, because that helps people find it and share these stories, share all of these conversations with people that you love, because sometimes people don't want to hear it from you, but if they hear it from somebody else, they listen. So, and the thing about glyphosate, and Rita knows so much about this too, and so do I'm a really big fermenter, and I'm also, most of you on here know that my husband and I owned a bakery and a cafe in Homer, Alaska called the Sourdough Express. And for 37 years, we ground our own grain and we used only organic grains. And the first 20 something years, maybe 25 years when I was in business, starting in 1982, nobody came in and said, I'm gluten intolerant. Not one person. Nobody asked for gluten-free anything. Because that, when we can track it all back to when the whole glyphosate thing hit when the industrial food complex really took over everything, pretty much, because what we eat is what we become in a sense. Did we have all those compromising issues? And like, that's why I encourage you all to reach out.
Collateral damage.
Leaky gut collateral damage, which we covered. So I just, I want to just share real quick, and I'm going to be doing, and actually Harvest will be there too, and he's going to be one of the guest speakers. We're going to be putting on an immune system building culinary class series starting in January, and I'm having a professional film crew come in, and so it's going to be really high quality. And the first class is going to be on fermentation, which we covered. And when we think about compost and fermenting, and we think about the soil, and that's why I always say we got to compost what doesn't serve us and nurture what does. And we have a good, like Rita was saying, both Rita and Natalie, when you have a good gut microbiome, you can not only assimilate and digest your food better, but it starts there. And Tad, I think you even took my fermentation class years ago, but I'm going to be doing a fermentation class. I'm also going to be doing a sourdough bread baking class as well. And there's going to be 6 courses to start with, and then we have 6 to follow, but you can put that link in there. But in the sourdough thing, we're going to be talking about glycemate and you know, how sourdough is much easier to digest and a better choice for people who are recovering from gluten intolerance. And then we're going to be doing bone broths and beef stew, flu stews and soups and microbiome building salads and salad dressings, and the list goes on. You can look at it in the link, and then making this available to anybody for free, although there is a fee. I have a scholarship program, but my job as somebody why I retire when I can inspire is to help people heal, because the healthier we are, the healthier the planet is, and I am a voice for nature. So it would just warm my heart if you guys all just fill out the survey to see out which classes you want to take, and let us know if you're interested. And I'm going to be doing buy one, get one free, which brings us to the holiday season. So if you buy one class or a pack of 3 or 6, you're going to actually get 2 for 1, so you can give to somebody that you love. And if you can't afford it, no worries, you're in, because you're in this group, and that's really means the world to me. So, and I will be having Natalie back on and Rita back on, and during these culinary classes throughout, we're going to be doing interviews and live chats, so people can share their breads or their ferments and ask questions. So it's going to be very interactive, and the discussions will continue. So, and then every Thursday, starting next Thursday, I'm going to come back on with a dose of positivity. Some of you were on there. We're going to keep it to about a half an hour unless I'm interviewing somebody, all positive stuff, continuing this conversation. Everything will be recorded in our Facebook group, and everything will be on the YouTube video on Donna Malt's Soul to Solutions. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, since we're talking about gifts, and another reason to reach out to Natalie, what a great gift to give someone who you love, who's really into organic farming or regenerative health, an issue to her magazine, and to support her work. Because, you know, we all have to, we still use toilet paper, and we still have to buy certain things at the grocery store. So I would encourage you, when you're thinking about holiday giving, you're not buying something and wrapping it. And I have a blog that I put out every year about how much waste of of the wrapping paper and bows. I have all the statistics, and I update it every year, goes into this consumerism, this crazy, pathetic state of the world that we have come to celebrate holidays with, which has really brought us way backwards, this holiday of greed. So my culinary classes, our culinary classes are going to make incredible gifts. And also Rita, you know, just connecting with her, and the products that she offers and that I also offer would just be the greatest gift you could give yourself first. We have, like Natalie was saying, we have to be gentle and kind to ourselves. So and if you look at these earrings and tell, you're going to put Janie's link in here, she makes these glass earrings and stained glass works that are over the top gorgeous, and they change color with it, whatever you wear. And I don't know if you noticed, but if you go back at the replay, on almost every episode, I'm wearing these earrings, right? Janie, I think you're still there. Yeah, I see Janie turned. Oh, she's probably in her studio working. She is Janie edited both the books, by the way, and she edits my blogs. Oh, she's got her earrings right there. They're incredible, and they make great gifts. And if you don't support someone like an artist like Janie, who is a conscious cures advocate and living like the future matters, and a great musician and a dear friend, then thinking about the holidays and about what you're going to give, whether it's a magazine or the gift of health or an immune system building culinary class, or things that are low carbon, things that are low carbon footprint gifts. So I just wanted to mention that to all of you. And if you have something that you have, please put it in the chat and just say, consider this as a holiday gift, as long as it's something that is in lines with what we're talking about. Tell's got Harvey's link in there for his music. And by doing all this, oh yeah, I want to show you this too. This is great if anybody has kids. This is my kids book, Amazing Recipes for Kids and Adults. It's my first recipe book, and this is the I Am Journal. And on my website, donnamaltz.com, you'll see I also have my art, my photography there, because everything that you do helps support me supporting Tell, and anything that we make profit-wise goes to preserving land in a land trust. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're going to get there eventually, because I got everything I need. And one of those tips, like when Rita was going on, you know, it's like everything I buy for $1. I get it at the thrift store. So repurposed clothing. And actually last week, Harvest had that great song about shopping at the thrift store. So as far as if anybody has any more questions, it's 2:30. We're just out of time. Harvest is going to do a concert, and we're going to end by just saying thank you all for living like the future matters. And he's going to start with that theme song, Living Like the Future Matters, and play more of his original music for us. So I just want to thank you, Rita and Natalie, from the bottom of my heart, and Tell for keeping it all together, for Tad for your great questions, and the other people who asked questions. I didn't get your names, but that's what makes this conversation happen, is you. And we'll look for your questions on the Facebook group, and anywhere you want to reach out to Natalie or to Rita or to myself. We're here for you. We're on that stream down to the ocean and back. Okay, take it away, Harvest.
Mahalo for bringing on such wonderful guests. I really got a good takeaway of that whole regeneration process that you are promoting, and we need to all become not vegetarians but regenitarians.
Regenitarians. Oh, that is so good. That's a song, Harvest.
Yeah.
And I will be right back.
Living like the future matters. Living like you really care. Be kind to Mother Nature. Learn to give and share. Dare to dream. Dare to do. The health of the planet is up to you. By living like the future matters. It matters. It matters. Time to get motivated. Gather your thoughts and be creative. Where there's a will, there's a way. We can have an impact every day. By living like the future matters. It matters. It matters. Open up your eyes. Embrace your heart. Now's the time to volunteer and do your part. We all need to lend a hand. Show appreciation for the land. The environment is at our command. Oceans and valleys and rivers are sighing. Let's pull all our resources and keep on trying to live it like the future matters. It matters. It matters. Live it like the future matters. Sing with us. It matters. We all need the air we breathe to replenish us. Let's purify the water supply, it's precious. Take the time to clean up Mother Earth. Realize how much she's really worth. Become a reflection of nature's perfection. Planting Gaia's regeneration. Living like the future matters. It matters. It matters. Living like the future matters. It matters. It matters. Time to get motivated. Gather your thoughts and be creative. Where there's a will, there's a way. We can have an impact every day. But living like the future matters. It matters. It matters. Woo.
Yeah, blessings. We are living like future matters right now.
Yeah. This next song was inspired from a rainbow that came out on New Year's Day, 2021.
2021.
And it happened right here, right next door, and it's called High Vibin. And in this song, it talks about citizens of the world must get along. So that was a little bit of what you were talking about today, global healing, planetary healing. 2020s have arrived, can't you feel the energy rising, rising? People everywhere becoming more aware, high vibing. We can live our lives with passion, focus on kindness and compassion, build a spiritual foundation, honoring all living creation. All together, high vibing, high vibing. We must come together and stay strong. Citizens of the world must get along. each other as one big family, giving and receiving love will set us free. Tuning into all of our heart energy, living our lives joyfully, high vibing, high vibing, high vibing is our destiny. High vibing, high vibing, high vibing is our destiny.
Yeah, there's a conscious cure. You guys, I want to thank you again and again for being here. And I noticed that some more people are still on. And if you want to hear one more song, Harvest said he'll do it. But the one thing that we were talking about is that if you get up and move your booty right now, you will have taken away so much more from this conversation, right? Because one of those things that are clinically proven, if you want to remember things, you got to get that memory in your body. So if you guys would just, right, Rita, right, Natalie, right? We got to feel it in our body. So if you want to,
There's a bitter melon all the way
got a
from
bit-
Okinawa, Blue Zone.
So we would like all of you, if you're comfortable, even to come on your video and move your body, man, because we want our brains to remember this beautiful information that we shared on this conversation today. Tell you too.
Now,
I'll
this
see you.
song is an interactive song, and it's going to be the cut off my new album, Share Your Love. So I hope you like it. It's really got a lot of universal appeal.
Yeah. Charlie, we see you. We see you. Alan. Yeah, go. Natalie, you're beautiful.
Share your love. Give to one another. Let your hearts become one. Feel each other. I am your brother. You are my sister. Happiness comes.
Happiness comes.
When our hearts and our minds close together. Together. Beautiful dreamer.
Beautiful dreamer.
Sing your way through life. With the sunshine in the morning and the full moon at night. Dream on of the one you love, the one in search of you. Let one day your dreams all bound to come true. So share your love. Share your love. Here we go. Share. Bells ring. Let the songbirds sing. Let happiness be your dream. It'll become part of your seed. So share your love. Share your love. Share your love. Oh, thank you, Donna.
Woo, thank you.
Cocktail.
Woo, thank you so much.
All right, you guys were grooving and moving and grooving.
Oh my God, you guys
Yeah, I
are.
appreciate you.
Got the little island energy going there too, right?
Yes,
So good.
so good. You guys will catch up and Tel, thank you so much. I want to thank you all so much for staying with us and coming off and doing a little boogie woogie.
Yeah,
Love
thank you, Donna. Thank you,
you.
Tal. Thanks, Rita.
Thank you. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Lily and Rita.
Big love.
That song's gonna
Big
stay in your head tonight. I
Yeah,
can-
we're gonna remember all this good soil stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Harvest.
Always.
Yeah, always. Bye, guys.
Aloha.
Become a reflection of nature's perfection, planting seeds of Gaia's regeneration. By living like the future matters, it matters, it matters. Living like the future matters, it matters.